What's happening, weight loss warriors? Did you ever wonder what goal setting could do for you? How about the power of a positive mind? I'm going to tell you right after this. This is the reason why I lost all my weight. Leave why you lost yours in the comments below. Hey guys, thanks for joining me again. My name is C-Dub, and I'm here to give you guys some insight into a couple of stories in my life. One is when I was growing up and I was a little guy in elementary school. And so my dad had decided through a conversation he had had with another gentleman, co-worker, that the best thing for him to do was to figure out some kind of way to get his son or me to be more positive, or to be a positive person. And so this guy suggested to my dad that by saying the word excellent when people asked how I was doing, it would accomplish that goal. So in that process, my dad kind of trained me to do that. And so I'm in elementary school, and I'm going about my regular day, my regular life, and I would always say excellent to everyone that asked me. And so what ended up happening was, over the course of the 5 years I was at the elementary school, everyone knew who I was. I actually had teachers that would come by my classroom to ask how I was doing. And they did this every single day. A really good example of a few things that I think that it helped really well with also is I had perfect attendance. I felt good. I always wanted to tell people how I was feeling because I was excellent. Now, I'm sure there were days when I wasn't excellent. I'm sure there were days when my mom dropped me off at the school and I was upset or tired or not feeling 100%. I'm sure there were days that I had problems. But when people asked, I immediately said excellent. The response from them was positive. So because I gave them positive, they fed me back positive. And I think that that's a lesson in the universe. I think you get back what you give. And so when you take something and you're always negative and you're always down on yourself and you're always down on other people, and it's always like, why am I stuck in traffic, and why am I struggling here? Why don't my coworkers understand? Or why is my boss acting this way? And you're always approaching everything from the negative side, then you're going to get back people giving you the same thing. They're going to be complaining about their days and complaining about their lives and complaining about their failures. And what starts to happen is it starts to fester and it starts to grow, and then you become something you didn't want to become. So negative talk and self-doubt are two things that you have to fix. And I think that all of us suffer from it on some level, but if you can get into your own head by maybe starting with the word excellent, when somebody asks you how you are, maybe it can help for you. Maybe you can start to project something positive, and then in return get something back positive. And then an old adage my mom used to say, and I believe her mother used to say to her all the time, is just simply, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I think that that is a lesson that people miss too. Is, they want to go straight to the, oh my God, my day's so bad. And with social media and outlets like this, people do that kind of thing all the time. Woe is me, because then people respond to them, are you okay? How are you doing? What can I do to help? And it just builds this feedback that's good from a negative place, and that grows negativity. So I think you got to grow positivity. You got to grow goodness. You got to find the silver lining in every situation. So I think the power of positive can take you anywhere. It can move mountains. It can do anything you want to do. If you think about it, and you can go back to my previous video about my weight loss journey from when I was overweight and when I was talking, and you can see that I was positive then. I knew I could do it. I knew I would do it. And I sat down in front of a camera and I called myself out on it and said, I'm going to do this. And there's no going back on that. That video is there. It was on a file my wife knew where it was at. I didn't even know where the file was. I had to ask her to get it the other day so I could make the video, because I knew I needed to hold myself accountable, and I knew that video was never going to go anywhere. And I thought maybe I'll post it on the internet one day, and I did. But it came from a positive place, not a negative place. And so you got to remember, you're always going to fail. Failure is not a negative thing. Failure is positive. Failure is the best thing that can happen to you, because failure teaches you what not to do. And so you can learn from your mistakes and you can move on from there. But with that said, let me take you to the second story. The second story is about goal setting, and goal setting is so important. I coach wrestling, and so every kid that comes into my program, I make them write down goals and then try to get them to accomplish the goals and show them at the end of the year the goal setting. But I want to talk about a couple years back when I first got to Lafayette High School. I walked into the program and I was watching some kids wrestle, and I knew one kid from the previous year had done really well. I believe he had made the state tournament. He didn't place, but he had made it, and I knew he was good. So I was watching him wrestle on the first day, and he was wrestling this little blonde-haired kid, and he was good. And I was like, wow, I thought I only had one good kid on this team, but I might have two good. And then a little bit later, I'm watching this blonde-haired kid wrestle this other little kid, and the other kid is dominating him. And I said, whoa, where did this kid come from? So I went up to him and I said, hey, how'd you do last year? Because it was clear he had wrestled and it cleared he had pretty good skill. He said, I got sixth in the district. And my mind was blown because I had coached in that same district and I knew he was way better than sixth. Way better than sixth. And I said, why'd you only get sixth? And he said, I don't know. What do you mean? I said, did you get caught? Did something happen in your wrestle background? And he said, no. He said, I just did about as good as I felt I could do. And, whatever. And I'm like, well, what's your goal this year? And he said, I don't really have a goal. I said, well, what do you mean you don't have a goal? And he said, I just do it because this is something to do. It keeps me in shape. And I said, listen, I want you to go home tonight and I want you to write goals. I don't want any of this nonsense about I'm okay just showing up and being a part of the team. I want you to put something out there that I can hold you accountable for. I want you to work towards something starting tomorrow. I want it on a sheet of paper. I want you to bring it and put it in my hand. So he comes back to me the next day, and he has some goals on a sheet of paper. One is he wanted to get more pins than he did losses. So I said, okay, I think that's a reasonable goal. He said, 2, he wanted to make it to the state wrestling tournament, which kind of caught me off guard because he did not have that kind of attitude the day before. And 3, he wanted to make the honor roll for the first time. And so I said, you know what? This is exactly what I wanted. And I stayed on this kid all year long. I was in his ear. I was pushing. And he wrestled very well. He ended up with 30 wins that year. And he ended up with, I think, something like 17 or 18 pins. And he only had 9 or 8 losses. So he had done exponentially well on all those goal settings. And he also made honor roll. But the only hiccup he had, the only problem he had was we're getting into the regional tournament and he's not seeded to go to states. He is not supposed to be there. So he ends up wrestling and he loses, I think, quarterfinals. And he drops back and he has to win a couple of matches and he gets to consolation semifinals. And for those of you that don't understand what that means, if he wins, he goes to 3rd and 4th. If he loses, he goes to 5th and 6th. If he wins, he goes to states. If he loses, he goes to just place in the tournament. He doesn't get to wrestle next weekend. So he knows that. We're going to bed that night. And he also knows the guy he's wrestling has made the state tournament. The guy he's wrestled has beaten him that year. And the guy he's wrestled is a very strong, solid wrestler. And he knows he has a big mountain to climb. But I stayed on him. I kept talking to him, throughout the day. I said, this is what we've been working for. We got up the next morning. He was on weight. He did everything right. He warmed up the right way. He prepared himself the right way. He got on the mat, and he beat that kid. And he beat that kid right there in the middle of that circle. And he beat him fair. And he beat him by many points. He dominated the match. He won, and now he's moving on to the state wrestling tournament. So this guy runs directly up to me and gives me this giant hug. His mom runs up on us. She's crying. And you know what I had in the sheet in my pocket? Was his goals. So I pulled out my pocket, his goals, and I said, listen, you've never set goals in your life until you met me. And look, you accomplished every single one of them. You did from goal 1 through 3. You nailed them all. Imagine where you'd be if you always set goals. Imagine where you'd be if you had a vision of what you were going to do in the future. I said, look, kid, you're unstoppable. It's you that stands in your way. So the next weekend he came back. He placed 6th in the state, which was far better than I could have ever dreamed him doing. And he left that school year as a senior. He got into college. He just graduated college the other day. 2 things he told me when I met him that he would never do. He said, I'm not smart enough for college. He ended up going. He ended up graduating. He's married now. And he's starting his family and his journey. But he told me that the goals were the key, that being able to set something up to achieve, set something up to see in the future is the key to everything. So rewinding and ending with one more quick thing. I had another wrestler the other day that's in 8th grade, and I said, "What's your goal?" And he said, "I want to do better than my brothers, and I want to place in states by the time he's a senior in high school." And I said, "Hey, look, I think you can do better than that. I think you can set it to be a state champion." And he said, "Really? You think I can be a state champion?" And I said, "Listen, even if you're not, and you're shooting for a state championship and you get 3rd, is there anything wrong with that?" And he was like, "Well, I guess not, coach." And I'm like, "No, if you did your best, there's nothing wrong with coming up short of your goal. But if you don't have a goal, you have nothing to push yourself to." So whatever it is, if it's 2 pounds, if it's 2 more pounds, if it's 100 more pounds, if it's 300 more pounds, you have to set a goal. You have to start working towards it. You have to put real things in line, real steps to make as you go. And if you do that, goal setting and the power of positive will change everything for you. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. Thank you. Peace.